If you're wondering how to make money with Airbnb, you're in the right place. There is no reason to do Airbnb just for the fun of it. We need to generate revenue. We need to generate profit. There's a lot of ways to do that, but let me tell you, if you don't do it right, there's a lot of ways to lose money. Let's find out how. I'm sure you've heard about the Airbnb craze. I'm sure you've heard about all the people that do Airbnb and generating revenue. If you're new to this space, believe me, it's a powerful, powerful way to generate money and generate profit and create revenue for your family, so you can continue to live life on your terms. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and also smash that thumbs up button. Turn on that bell notification so you get notified every time we do a video. Because on this channel, we're committed to one thing. That's creating a life for you that you love. So there's a couple different ways to make money with Airbnb, but the way it works is you have a place, you allow people to stay in it just like a hotel, and you get paid nightly every single night somebody stays in it. The power of Airbnb, just like hotels, you get paid before they stay there. With our long-term rentals, sometimes people will pay us for March, then April comes around and they're a little bit late and they're staying in our place without paying. And that's one of the powers of Airbnb. They pay before they can ever show up to your place and get the information. So one of the ways you generate revenue is by listing on sites that connect you with the kind of people that want your place, and they rent it out night by night by night. The cool thing about generating revenue with this model is you can give slight discounts for weeks and even a little bit more discounts per month, but guess what? You're going to make more money than a long-term rental. If you rent it out every single month to the same tenant who has a 1 or a 2-year lease, that's going to be a lot less than if you rent it out nightly on an Airbnb or a VRBO or a vacation rental site. So one of the ways we generate revenue is through these listing sites. They stay in our place and we get a nightly rate, a weekly rate, or a monthly rate. The second way you can generate money with Airbnb or short-term rentals is by taking your own property that you live in and putting that on the Airbnb site or the VRBO site when you're not in it. Let's say you're a vacationer and you're what we call a snowbird, or in Arizona, I call them heat birds. When it gets too hot in the summer, people go north, because I live here in Phoenix, or I used to live in Michigan, people go south, right? I seem to always live in places where people spend a half the year or 3-4 months in another state because the weather's more conducive and they like that weather. So if you're one of those people, one of the ways is when you leave, you can Airbnb your house out while you're not in it. That's a great way to generate revenue without having to buy more property, manage more property, or furnish another property. The third way is one of my favorites, and this especially fits if you're looking to actually use this as a profit center, which is Airbnb Arbitrage, where you rent a property, then you place it on a short-term rental site, and you generate money without even owning the property. And this is one of the fastest trends and the fastest growing trends in the Airbnb space. And the reason it is you don't have to come up with that big down payment. You don't have to buy any houses. You don't have to insure it. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to do any of it. The landlord has it all. You rent it from them. You short-term rental it out to other people, and you keep the profit and you keep the difference. The power of that is you get to generate revenue and you don't have to deal with a lot of the headaches of ownership, right? And you don't have to come up with a down payment, and you don't have to go get a loan for a property. Airbnb Arbitrage is one of those things that I believe everybody should do just as a side hustle, just as a side income or a primary income. You can actually get enough of these where you can generate enough income to replace your income and live life on your terms. But it allows you to generate revenue without owning property. Now, there are going to be a couple expenses you do have to account for. Expense number one is you're actually going to have to furnish the property. So you're going to have to buy beds and couches and kitchen tables and silverware and glasses and coffee makers and TVs and stands and all of the things that would furnish a house. Usually that's going to be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. Now, if you're going more luxury, it could go up to $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 if it's a higher end home. But the idea is still going to be far less than the down payment to just furnish that property than to have to buy that property and own it. So you have to first furnish that property and make sure it's completely conducive to a family to come and stay in your place. The second fee you got to understand is the actual rent itself. You are going to have to pay rent to the landlord. So every month you're going to have to pay $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever it is per month to that landlord. You have to pay that just like any tenant would. So you are going to have expenses, and you have to understand if you're paying $1,500 a month, but you're only making $1,100, $1,200 a month, you've got to make up that difference, right? So you have to understand, of course, the Airbnb income is supposed to pay the rent. But some months you might have a low month and you may have to kick in. Now, we, of course, want you to pick areas where there is no need to kick in and you're going to generate revenue. But the second expense you have to remember is you got to remember that monthly rent expense. The third expense you got to remember is the deposit. So they're going to ask for a first month's deposit. Some will ask for a first and last month's deposit, depending on the type of landlord and how they operate. But you're going to have to put a deposit down with that first month's rent. So you're going to have deposit, first month's rent, maybe even last month's rent. Again, it depends on the landlord's structure, and you're going to have to furnish it. So those are going to be some expenses you need to plan on with this model. The fourth one is possibly utilities. So if the landlord is placing the utilities on you, gas, electric, water, sewer, trash, any of the utilities of the property, you're going to have to cover those utilities in your expenses. So don't just walk into an arbitrage thinking, wow, it's all income, not a lot of expenses. There are some expenses. They're less than ownership, but there are some expenses to running an arbitrage rather than just buying a property. Now, buying a property is going to be more expensive on the front end, but buying a property also, you get the equity. So there's a trade-off there. When you own the property, you get the equity. When you don't own the property, you don't. However, that equity does cost money. So it's a balance of which you would prefer. I tell everybody when you're just starting off, start the arbitrage route, get one moving. It's a lot less risk. Get one moving, get your feet wet, get it going, generate some revenue, learn the process, and now you have a business model. You can literally generate 6 figures a year easily by using this model, by having 3 or 4 or 5 of these that are generating revenue. You can literally replace your income with just this strategy alone. It's that powerful. So think about what you want to be doing this summer. Want to be traveling with your family? Want to be hanging out with your kids? Want to go up to the mountains and go backpacking? It all happens because you have passive revenue. That's why this channel exists. That's why we do this. And I'm telling you, this model alone can do that. So to do that, you have to have a couple things. You got to find landlords, and you got to find a little bit of cash in order to inject that front cash into that business, and then you've got a business. Now, again, you might say, Mike, but I don't even have the 10 or 15,000. I get that. I've been there many times. And so I understand that. So what you can do is you can partner with people that can invest in your business and fund that. And guess what you have? You have your first investor, but you also have money that's not your own, and you can still do the arbitrage route. You give the investor a cut of the profit, and everybody's happy. Let me tell you something about real estate. The thing I love about real estate, it's the great equalizer. The ground is level, meaning some people feel like, oh, other people have greater opportunities. I'm telling you, if you're willing to put in the work, anybody can do real estate. You have to be willing to put in the work. You can't just come and want to make excuses and play the victim card of how you grew up or what the challenge you've had. Everybody's had certain challenges. Throw them aside. Real estate can happen, but you got to be willing to put in the work and do this process to see the results on the other side. But one of the things we put together is a real estate ignition inner circle, because I know people just like you are going to want some extra help building their business and their real estate career to generate that passive income. So we have a mastermind group created just for you. People just like you are inside doing deals every single week and every single month. And we would love for you to be our next student and then, of course, be our next success story. If you would like more information on a Real Estate Ignition Inner Circle, click that link below. You're going to go to a page and schedule a call with our team so that we can hop on the phone with you, see what your goals are, see how we can get you there faster in the Real Estate Ignition Inner Circle. And of course, as always, make sure you watch the videos on this channel. We have a lot of videos on Airbnb helping you really see this process, generating money, changing your life. I'll see you in the next video.